Hi, I'm Chef Owen Tilley, and I want to welcome you to this week's installment of Ask the Chef. This week's question comes from Julie. Julie is one of our YouTube subscribers, and Julia wrote to me that during the dulls of winter with the bad weather outside, she was asking me if there's any seafood preparation that I could offer that would give her a taste of the tropics, kind of bring her down into the warm weather. Well, Julie, I do, and today we're going to make a Jamaican Jerk-Rubbed Salmon with pineapple salsa and beans and rice. So let's get started. Now this one has a little bit more steps than I usually do, especially on the rub, but trust me, it's worth it. And if you have any extra rub left, you can store it and still use it in the next 6 months. So for our rub, we're going to need the following. We're going to need some red pepper flake, some dried thyme, some paprika, some nutmeg, some cinnamon, some cloves, some allspice, some powdered ginger, brown sugar, onion powder, garlic powder, some dried chives, some black pepper, and salt. So it's a lot of ingredients, but like I said, trust me, it's worth it. To get started, we're simply just going to add all of the seasonings into a little bowl, and we're going to give it a good mix. So we're going to gently combine all of them together, and I'm going to use my hands on this because you really do need to get a good feel. Now that we have the rub ready, I want to go ahead and season my salmon. Now, I was able to find some really beautiful wild sockeye salmon. You can use any salmon you want, farm-raised or wild, but just remember that the wild salmon is going to have a lot less fat in it, so it's going to cook a lot quicker, and you don't want to dry it out. So, just give it a liberal sprinkling of all the spices. Now, I'm going to let this sit for about 10 minutes, and I suggest you do the same because it allows the spices to sink in a little into the flesh, and it also helps to moisten the spices up a little bit, and that's going to add to our flavor. So in the meantime, we're going to take our beans and rice that I've prepared right here, and I've simply taken 4 cups of cooked white rice and a can of beans. I've drained the beans and gave them a quick rinse. And I'm just going to pop it in the microwave for a couple of minutes while we get started on everything else. Okay, now while the beans and rice cook, we're going to get started. I'm going to turn the burner on to about medium-high. You really don't want to do high on this one because it'll cause a lot of smoke, and you don't want to fill up the house with smoke. I'm going to give the pan a quick spray with some pan release. The last ingredients that we're going to need are for our salsa. And pineapple salsa is just that. It's going to be some diced pineapple. Now I've used canned pineapple. You can use fresh pineapple when they're in season because they really do add a great flavor. But either way, it doesn't matter. So I've also had about a half a cup of each diced red onion and diced red bell pepper. I also have a couple of tablespoons of chopped cilantro, about a tablespoon of olive oil, about a 1/4 cup of fresh squeezed lime juice. Now you really want to use fresh squeezed because with the stuff that you get on the shelf doesn't have the punch that you really need for a great salsa. Now our pan's hot and ready. I'm going to add the salmon right now. Now we're going to lay them down spice side first because we want the spices to cook. If you ever eat any food that has a lot of spice to it and the spice burns your lips, that's because it wasn't cooked properly. You need to cook spices or they will be really astringent and kind of burn your lips. Like I said, we're just going to put that with the flesh side down. Now I'm giving a little pat to my salmon because basically what I want to do is I want to make sure as much as the flesh is contacting the cooking surface as possible because that's going to give a good sear in those juices and give a nice moist piece of fish. And we will keep an eye on this as it cooks. Now it's going to need about 8 minutes to fully cook. We're going to cook it 3/4 of the way on the spice side down first, then flip it and cover it, cook it for the rest of the way about 1/4 of a way. So like I said, 8 minutes and you're done. Our beans and rice are ready, so I'm going to go check on those. Oh yeah, they're steaming hot and ready to go, so we're going to let them stay in the microwave until we're ready. So let's get back to the salsa. So we're just going to take all the ingredients that I mentioned before, place them in a mixing bowl, and give it a little bit of salt, and that's really all we need. I'm going to take a spatula and give it a quick spin. So I'm simply just going to put that to the side and check on the salmon. Now I want you to look at something real close here. You can see where the salmon is starting to turn a little color. Down in the pan, it's releasing a little bit of protein in it. It's little white bumps. Though that's protein, very similar to egg whites. It's called albumin. Now, salmon releases this as it cooks, and you can see it's cooking pretty well up the side. Needs a couple of more minutes, so I'm just going to let it sit. Now you can plate this individually or you can do it family style. I'm a big fan of family style because it brings people into conversation as you pass everything around. So I have a big platter for it. One thing about cooking protein is that the protein will let you know when it's ready. If you take your tongs and you wiggle your fish or whatever protein you have, sometimes it's still stuck to the pan. While this is the protein's way of letting you know that it's not ready to be flipped. If you flip it, then you're going to tear off some of the meat and it's really not going to be cooked properly. So we're just going to take it and turn it over. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Now I've used a grill pan because I really love to grill, as you know, and I like those great grill marks. Now I'm going to cover this and just let it cook for another minute or so more because, like I said, we cooked it 3/4 of the way on the spice side down and then finishing it with the skin side down. So let's go to the microwave. Yikes, that's a little hot. So let's just simply take the beans and rice, give it a quick stir, make sure that it's all well incorporated, and then we're just going to kind of spread it out onto the platter. All right, that looks good to me. Just going to give it a quick garnish with a little bit of cilantro on the top. All right, so we're good there. I'm going to go back to the salmon. Oh yeah, that looks great. So let's take it out. There we go. Now some people really like skin, some people don't. It's up to you. I like putting the skin side down because if you do it right, it'll take the skin off for you. All right, now that we have the salmon on our platter, we're ready to finish. And we're just simply going to take the salsa and spread it across the top of the salmon. And there you go. We've got a Jamaican jerk-rubbed salmon with black beans and rice and a pineapple salsa. I want to thank Julie for asking me for a tropical seafood recipe to break the dulls of winter. And I want to invite you to come back next week to Ask the Chef for next week's video. And remember, you keep asking, I'll keep cooking.